Hey, it's Ed here. Today we're taking a look at technical analysis for Nifty 50. So the India's index basically. Again, it is comprised of quite a few different assets, quite a few different sectors as well. So this is going to be giving us a bit different view than the US market indices. So this is going to be pretty interesting, at least it was for me when I was analyzing this. So let's start with the corrections that we had. Starting from when this chart at least opened up around 1990s, and we have had quite a few different large drops here. Few of these 50% drops here at the start or during the 90 to 2001. Between those two, we had quite a few of those. Again, quite large drops. Then we had the largest drop to date, which is again during the 08 crash. And then we had few different smaller ones since then. The most previous one that we had on 2020 was around 40%. The difference here is that, if we are looking at RSI, the difference here is that we had the lowest low on RSI at the 2020 lows. But again, just because again the momentum it had here was so fast, the whole thing, that again it crashed the RSI indicator quite lows. Again, we can use that to give us some probabilities and some structures and some counts basically just based on RSI as well, or alone, but we'll look into that later on a bit as well. Now what I've labeled here as a non-Elliott wave is just a couple of different things. A channel where we are just pivoting these two peaks around the 92 peak to the 07 peak or 08 January peak, and pivoted down to the 03. This could tell us that on a higher time frame we're still within the same cycle that we have had and started even before this chart has begun basically. But again, we have some issues within this chart, like these lows here, that are telling us some kind of some higher time frame structures could have ended already, and yeah, we'll look into that next. Before that, we can see that we have some, let's go to monthly, we have some divergences from these highs all the way up to this top. We had divergences here, a lot of divergences here as well, but just before the March 2020 crash. Again, this was a telltale sign that something could happen, and it did happen quite fast as well, which was very bad for the markets as well. But since then, again, we've had a massive run to the high side. We had another 150% upwards move from the 2020 crash lows, and we are back now after making some kind of small correction here, back at the all-time highs basically on Nifty. Unlike S&P 500, which did its highs around January or December 2021, basically these highs, Nifty did just previously October highs, and we are still yet to take out those highs, but we are again very close. While S&P 500 is around here, Nifty is again here. Dow has taken out its connector wave. Basically, I think it was, let's see, either it's probably this one here. So it has taken out here. So it's a bit more bullish than S&P 500. But again, Nifty's are performing everything here. And it definitely has the potential of having a bit different wave count in here, which we're going to be labeling in a bit later. But let's go back to the higher timeframes and check out the counts that I got here. So weekly, let's start with this. This is one of the counts that I'm not quite sure how to label on from here, but again, the idea is that we had some kind of forward move here. We had divergences here at the very end against these highs, creating us that potential forward move into a wave one. Again, I'm starting it with this count because again, this is what we see here. Then we would have a very sideways correction here, all the way up to the lows of 01 September. And since then, again, we have potential of having another forward structure. We're not going to be diving deep into this territory now. I have a count where I have it explained, so let's take a look at that later on. But yeah, there was some issues here, so that's why I had it as a question mark earlier. But the idea here is that we had a cycle wave 2 or super cycle low here at September 2001, and then had another 5-way structure into the highs of December 2007 and a crash to that December 08 areas, and that would be the wave 4. Again, the extension targets here on logarithmic scale are not really hit too well, but again on arithmetic scale we are well past the expected values, which would be around the 1.618 extension, and we can see that the actual price difference here is very significant for the wave 3 against the wave 1 here. Same with the potential wave 5 that we are having here, is definitely a lot. So as we come back to that wave 4 of cycle, we could have this labeled as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 3 is not the smallest here if we are looking at, again, on price charts, nor is it is the smallest in comparison to a 5 either. But yeah, that is that. It just looks a bit wonky here. There's definitely ways to be labeling this a bit differently, but I do like this way. We have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like so. But the other count is suggesting a bit different things here as well. Now this is the way more bullish counts, because again this is having this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and if we are looking to expand this into a 5th and labeling this as a wave 1, this is going to be a massive thing going on for a very long and profitable bull run. I'm not going to be even labeling any targets here. If we are just looking at the curve that it is currently creating, this is just insane. But yeah, that is just one count. If we want to be getting back to more realistic targets, I feel like we should take a look at this count where we have still this as a 1. Instead of that being a cycle 1, we would have this as a super cycle 1, and then this as the wave 2, instead of the wave 2 being here. So this would allow us to get this 5-way move that we had again from the lows of 98 December into the highs of February 2000. This could be a wave 1 of cycle, then a 3-way pull back into wave 2 of cycle, and then another structure here into a where do I have it? Delete it. Looks like I've deleted this part. That's sad. Okay, we have to deal with it somehow. So this should be, I think, here, like this. And at that point again, we do have, there was a potential having this as that wave 4. There we go. And this should be a smaller time frame. I'm not sure how I managed to delete some of the counts, but okay, that's fine. The idea here was that 5 ways into 1, 2, and then 5 into 3, 4. 4 is not getting back to the wave 1 territory, so it's all fine, although it is very deep. Then we would have this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do have those divergences starting here, and even from back here from the thirds of third. So all of this rise is with divergence all the way up to the top. So this is giving us indication that this is something that could be ending. Again, it would fit the higher time frame idea as well, and this should actually be primary, and this should be intermediate. There we go. Now it's fixed. And yeah, it is, because again, it is the third of cycle, and again it should be highest in RSI, which it is, unless we count these structures. I'm not sure if we really should be focusing on these too much, because again, this is basically the start of the whole thing, and these I feel like could be a bit skewed, but so I think we need to be ignoring those highs for now. Again, highest highs around here, and then divergences here, and as we move on with the chart, this would be the third, this would be the basically the third of third of third. So again, has the highest RSI, which would make sense, right? And again, we have to note that we had a very expanded and elongated this wave 5 on that 5th. So this is something that we could definitely have on the wave 5 of higher time frame as well. Just definitely keep that in mind as well. Again, wave 3 and wave 4, I think it was in the same spot basically, but again at different degrees here, so that's the difference. And in here we would be having this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into that wave 1, 2, a diagonal here into wave 1, and then another wave 2, 3, 4. Again, wave 4 is kind of deep, but it's not getting back to the wave 1 territory, and we can label a 5-way structure afterwards. So this as a 1, 2, third of third on smaller time frame has divergences, so that's fine. Then a running flat here, and then 5th wave here, completing the 3rd wave here. Now the issue that I have with this one is that we don't really have a clear alteration between this wave 4 here and wave 2 here. Generally we want to see one of them having some kind of flat structure where we are taking out the tops here, but again that is not a requirement. Alteration is again more of a guideline than a requirement, so that is that. This definitely feels more like a WXY correction, so a combination correction, and this at least here on higher time frame looks more like a zigzag pattern, but again we're not going to be zooming into that right now. But yeah, that brings us the potential of having this as 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if we are thinking that these previous wave 5s are significantly larger than anything else, there is of course the potential of this doing the same thing. And for the more local structures we have a couple different alterations here, so let's go through them. Again, this is the low of March 2020. Since then again we had a potential wave 1, 2, 1, 2. I've noted that this is indeed larger, this way smaller time frame wave structure, but again this is one way to label it. There is other ways as well. I'm going to show you those later on. But again 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. The issue with this one, even on smaller time frames, is that we don't really have a divergence between these two. I've pondered about the potential of having this as either as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then another 1, 2 here. But again, this being the wave 2 would not really fit, in my opinion, into anything. The other possibility is that we would have this as 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Then this would be 2nd wave structure, 3rd, 4th and 5th. And then this would be wave 2 here. Again, I'm going to show you those next. Bullish count is exactly that I mentioned. 1, 2, I think I mentioned a bit different here, but whichever way, the idea is that we have it started from here, ending at here, and this would be the wave 2. Let's take a look at that wave 2 closer, as that is a bit more complex. Let's go to 1 hour for now. The idea here is that I've labeled this as a 3-way structure into W, 3 waves into X. This definitely had the potential of having the best look as a 5-wave structure. So I think I have to have this as an ABC here. And that limits a bit of the possibilities here. Again, that would be the wave X, and then 3-way structure here to that wave Y here overall. This should be actually lower degree, so let's fix that. And that would bring us to high time frame or high degree wave W. So W then looking ABC into X and ABC into wave Y. Pretty simple. The other way around to look at this would be that this was a wave W, X and wave Y. Within wave Y we would have this 3-way structure. I feel like this is a bit better proportion wise, so that's why I labeled it as such. Again, this is the more bullish count, in which again the wave 2 has already ended at this low of June that we had, where we had, for example, Bitcoin creating the 70.5k lows, and of course indices having a low as well there. And since then, Nifty has put on quite a show, giving us again, or taking back all the lost value that I had here back now, basically at the all-time highs at the moment. Now there's a couple of interpretations here for this local time frame, where we could be saying that we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in here into a wave 1, then a 3-way pullback into a wave 2. Now again, as this is starting to fade and lose momentum here, we can see that we have a potential wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and creating the potential last leg. We are creating divergences here on RSI, giving us signals that okay, we are creating potential last leg here, and I do think that this has the potential of being a fifth wave here, as long as it does not take out the highs here of these RSI peaks around this 1 hour time frame. If it does, then this turns it into a bit more bullish structure, where we could be having this as some kind of 1-2-1-2 setup somewhere here, where instead of this being a third of this structure, this would be a third of smaller structure. So we would be getting one more leg up like so. But again, at that point, we would be expecting those divergences to start forming again. So that is the bullish idea. This would be creating a 1-2-1-2 setup, and off we go with the third of third. And that would definitely bring us, or Nifty, quite a lot of price difference here. The thing about this count is that it is very bullish. The wave 2 here has retraced only like less than 20% from the all-time highs, which is very small for a wave 2 of this magnitude after this kind of pump here. Again, the pump was around 150%, while we got down around 18%, and now we have already gotten everything back here. So of course that can look like it is bullish, but we have to have other alterations and alternate ways to look at the market, and this is definitely one of them here. Again, the idea is that we have this as a potential wave 1 top, and then we would be looking for wave 2 downwards. There is of course a way, because again these are very high on RSI, saying that this is just a third of something. I have not labeled it as such because again I did not really find a good looking wave structure inside here, where we would have this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and then looking for that fifth. That is of course possible, but again not my primary at the moment. I feel like this topping a wave 1 up top here has more potential at this very moment. The very same exact structure here, instead of completing wave 2 here, we have this as an A wave, and then a 5-wave structure. Again, looks very good as a 5-wave. We don't need to be changing that. So 5 waves into A, B, and then looking for C. Again, the minimum target would be 18.685, which would take out the all-time highs here and would give us that divergence against the previous peaks, and especially here on smaller time frame, and give us that also that divergence against the third of that A wave. That is not necessary, but again that is something that very commonly happens on ABCs, or zigzag ABCs especially. But yeah, that would give us the wave B. We have some targets here that are a bit higher. If we are climbing this higher and creating, as mentioned, the extended 1-2-1-2 setup here, creating this back to around the 1-to-1 extension of this ABC, that would be around 20k. We have some targets here on that retracement of that wave A here for that wave B. This is the expanded B pocket, which is again measured by creating a retracement of this A wave here. Again, these are just some targets, don't need to be hitting them, but if this is starting to slow down and still goes beyond these areas here without retracement, then we can look at this count as more probable than the more bullish one, right? So this area anywhere around the 19.5k to 20.1k, and then the expectation would be that we are creating a wave C here, which would be a 5-way structure, and this would at least should take out the lows that we had on June, and then even then push price down even more. If we are comparing the time it took to create that wave 1 to this possible wave 2, we would be creating some kind of a May 2023 timeline for this whole thing. And after that point is well, at that point we don't really want to cross that, otherwise it goes more into the wave B wave territory, where this whole thing could be a B wave. But again, that does not really fit into the higher time frame structures anyway, so we don't need to be worrying about that later, or at this point I don't think. But I think those are again the expectations I have. Definitely going to be trading Nifty here, especially if we are getting that one more last high here on very small time frame, looking for that short opportunity and possibly looking for long opportunity from here on out for that more bullish case. If we are taking out these lows, then we know that most likely is coming back down here. But I think that is going to do it for this video. If you made it this far into the video, I would appreciate the likes. Link to my free Discord server in the description below. And for now, I thank you for watching and hope you have an amazing rest of your day. See you next video. Bye bye.